Hi everybody, welcome back to Law Hero. My name is Jen and I make videos about the law. Today we are going to talk about the King's Inns entrance exam. And yeah, I have all of the notes for this exam up on my website, lawhero.eu. I'm just going to go on that website quickly myself. So when you get to the home page, landing page, you just click on King's Inns. You will see that there are 5 exams for the King's Inns. Now, to actually be able to sit those exams, there are a whole host of formalities, so I advise you look into those. But there are 5 exams. So you have contract, constitutional, criminal, evidence and tort. Very, very straightforward actually, and some of the much nicer subjects. So I'm just going to go quickly down through them in this video, just if you're interested in sitting the exam. So in every chapter of in every ebook, every King's Inn ebook I sell, the last chapter will have the past exam questions. And what I do is I put in red what the area of law they're asking. So the exam questions asked on the constitutional law paper are very broad, but they are also very practical. And you get all the normal stuff in constitutional law, like trial and due course of the law, freedom of expression, right to a livelihood, family rights, socioeconomic rights, separation of powers, and then some constitutional interpretation like mootness, locus standi, and then some constitutional rights, as I've mentioned a few already, but like equality, religious freedom, right to silence, right to livelihood, family rights, all of that kind of stuff. And this is all done very well in my ebook, but you're not going to get anything outside of what I've just said there. And like obviously with the separation of powers, you're going to get the principles and policies test for secondary legislation. So the constitution exam is quite straightforward. The next one we're going to look at is contract law, and just like the FE1, it's a very straightforward exam. Again, I'm just going to go to the very back of the ebook where the problem questions are. The exam questions are. And you can also buy any chapter of the book you want, like the chapters are split out. So just like in the FE1, you have offer and acceptance problem question, but what they actually do is they throw in a few more issues, because for barristers obviously it's a little bit more litigious. And so we have some, for example, like in 2019 we saw there was like an offer mixed in with promissory estoppel as well as mistake. So those are like 3 big areas mixed into one. And also the problem questions in the contract King's Inn exam are very dense compared to the FE1. You will definitely get a question on terms in contract law, like a warranty, representation, or an anonymous term. You will definitely get breach, discharge and termination of a contract. And then you'll get some nice questions like essay question, for example, the distinction between a penalty clause and a liquidated damages clause, the impact of intoxication on the capacity to enter into contract that's intended to enter into legal relations. And then like the rights of a third party who's the intended beneficiary under a contract between 2 other individuals. Just remember, in Ireland we don't have statutory rights for third party, and that's because of privity of contract. Let's see, 2018 they asked contra preferentum. This is basically the contract is construed against the drafter. The role of formalities in contractual agreements. So the criminal law exam is also extremely broad, but a very practical exam. And you will get a whole host of queries in every single exam question. So for example, like you'll get a full question on sexual offences, 100%. You're definitely going to see murder, manslaughter, defences like intoxication, insanity, that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go through criminal because it's actually very straightforward. Tort is the same again. It's actually a little bit narrower than the FE1, which is good for you guys who are sitting the King's Inn. I reduced the scope of the exam. I don't include product liability or animal liability because I just don't think it's necessary. They're very niche areas of tort, very specialised, not really, like, I mean, you can answer an exam question on them, but they're not a big deal. Now, that being said, liability for animals did come up in King's Inn tort law exam question, but you don't have to answer them all, so you could have avoided it. They're big into nuisance and Rylands in the King's Inns. Also professional negligence, damages for torts, like negligence just full stop. You're going to see some economic torts. Also, actually, there was a full essay question on the statute of limitations, which I thought was kind of weird. Yeah, there was some product liability, misrep and damages. Just be careful because there's like contractual misrep and tortious misrep. Some people get that wrong. Because you can make a misrepresentation in contractual negotiations and outside of contractual negotiations, so it's just like a kind of a way to save people. Passing off is really nice, and that's always really asked in the King's Inns. Like, for both contract and tort, you have to know damages very, very well. You have to know the responsibility of the claimant to mitigate their damages. I think economic torts is just something you have to know for both the FE1 and the King's Inns. You just can't get out of, it's just too big an area of torts to get out of. There was a full question on occupiers' liability in 2017. Again, that's quite easy because it's easy to understand, but it is a statutory, so yeah. When I say professional negligence, by the way, I also mean medical negligence, so like the Dunn principles, and also psychiatric injury and loss. Evidence. And evidence, in my opinion, is the most tricky exam on the King's Inn, and it's the one you should probably spend the most time studying. And it's also like a very, very broad curriculum. So if I just look, so normally you'll get like a problem question where you'll have some witness describe if there's a deceased person, that they saw them, that they heard them say something, there's some physical evidence, that there's some witness testimony. You have to basically pick out all the different types of evidence and say how they're relevant or admissible in court. And then there might be some broad evidential questions, like essay questions, like for example, if there is evidence collected in an unconstitutional or an illegal fashion, is that admissible in court? There's always, you have to basically understand the burden of proof, and when the burden of proof shifts, and the evidential burden of proof. Out of court statements, what else was asked? Oh yeah, like family members being cross-examined or giving evidence, what's the rules around that? Yeah, you have to know out of court statements. I mean, that was asked 3 times in a row. Basically, misconduct evidence, if there's some dodgy stuff in somebody's past, can that be brought up? Used as evidence against them, is that permissible? Oh yeah, Section 1F of the Criminal Justice Act 1924, you have to understand that, and when you lose your shield under that provision. So yeah, just to sum up for the King's Inns, I think they're extremely manageable exams. But I think evidence, if you haven't studied it at undergraduate, you definitely need to spend some time learning that. I have an ebook on it, so don't worry. But I think definitely if you've done a law degree, you may not have done evidence, so that might be the one that might catch you. But criminal law and evidence tie in well together, so it is kind of a boost. I think it's a very practical exam. They are dense problem questions. They are nice essay questions. They're sometimes random essay questions, but the problem questions are very dense and have often 3 to 4 issues in each of them. So if you want the notes, just please go to my website and click on kingsinss. If you have any questions, please email me at info@lawhero.eu and follow me at lawhero IRL on Instagram. Thank you very much for watching.